Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. And thankfully, it seems like the internet is starting to stable out a little bit, but no promises. No promises. Day 4 of streaming live from rural Missouri, the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, AP. They call me AP for Liberty. You can click the like button. Today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show. We'd love to have you come back and join us here for our regular schedule every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the show. Good morning, Bruce Birtwhistle, Sign of Jonah, Mr. Embry, L Dubs, how you doing, Latrell? Kim McCurry, Southcott, Bruce Birtwhistle, Grizz Cheese, John Rail, Kermode Bear, Cecilia H, T-Mill22, Brad Beckman, Dad Bod Baboon, everybody who counts is already here, like Jose MMA. Good morning, guys. We rockin', we rollin'. The Los Angeles Palisades fire is likely to be the most expensive ever. Parts of Hollywood are at this moment being evacuated. The damage estimate could be more than 3 times higher than the previous record holder. The wildfires around Los Angeles may still be raging, but they've already racked up an enormous price tag. We're going to talk about that at the top of the show this morning. At 7:30 this morning, we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that we're launching a DC Liberty Tour. Yes, you asked for it. You got it. And there's a funny story that I have about this one. At 7:30 this morning, we're going to talk a little bit about a group trip. Now, I don't think it was... we didn't do one last year, but we did one the year before last where we got everybody together for a big trip here in Missouri. But this year, we've got a trip. We just planned it, and it's coming up this year, May 1st through the 3rd. So you want to get together with everybody, come by the coast, have a few drinks, have a few laughs. All right, so we'll talk about that this morning at 7:30. I've got lots of details and a funny story related to how difficult it was to get this tour launched. It involves being woke and being canceled, so make sure you stick around for that. At 8 o'clock this morning, Camelia Peterson will be joining us remotely to talk about Joe Biden confirmed that he's considering issuing pardons for Anthony Fauci and Liz Cheney. Okay, guys, a little vehement there. For Anthony Fauci and Liz Cheney. I just have to wonder, why would you offer a pardon to someone if they hadn't committed a crime? We're really excited to see Cecilia joining us there in the chat, talking about the tour. We're very excited. Can we set up a group for those who want to go? I want to get an idea where people are staying. May bring my mom. Yes, yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about all of those things at 7:30 this morning. Don't worry, about 20-30 minutes. Sign of Jonah is already just stealing my lead, saying people blame insurance companies for canceling policies, but everyone knew it was going to happen. He doesn't blame the insurance companies. It's actually illegal to sell insurance competitively priced in Los Angeles. So we'll talk about that as well as many other things here in just a few minutes. And at 8:30 this morning, we are going to hear from Daniela Pensack. We haven't seen her on the show for a while. Daniela Pensack is going to talk to us about processed foods. Are all processed foods unhealthy, or is there a group of processed foods that are healthy, unhealthy, somewhat healthy? We're going to talk about that this morning. At 8:30 with the lovely Daniela Pensack. It is Thirsty Thursday. CEO Day says, let's effing go. My schedule is clear. Now, the May 1st to the 3rd. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I can't wait to meet so many of you guys. Stephanie and I know, we're going to talk about the tour in about 25 minutes, but there's just so much news to go. Many of you might be wondering why the title of the show today over on Rumble shows Fire Started with a picture of Joe Biden. Take a listen.
Donald Trump's climate denial may not have caused these fires and record floods and record hurricanes, but if he gets a second term, these hellish events will continue to become more common, more devastating, and more deadly. Meanwhile,
Excuse me? Back it up. What did you just say?
caused these fires and record floods and record hurricanes. But if he gets a second term, these hellish events will continue to become more common, more devastating, and more deadly.
Well, that's quite interesting. I got my sad trombone back here today. Joe Biden, how many suburbs will be burned? How many suburban neighborhoods will have been flooded out because of climate change? Yes, the left is already standing on the corpses of 5 people who have already died. The death toll this morning stands at 5 people as thousands of acres are burning and a blaze has broken out in the Hollywood Hills. Now, I'm not sure if this is just my internet, so I'd actually like for somebody else to check this for me. But this is the 24/7 live webcam of the Hollywood sign in Los Angeles, and it may be gone. It may be knocked out. So for those of you who might actually have really good internet, not me, I would implore you to please check out the Hollywood sign website for me this morning. You guys, if you can check, maybe if you're watching not on your phone, if you could pick up your phone. It says this video file cannot be played, but this could be just because my internet or I don't have a plugin or something. It's hollywoodsign.org is the website. And I'm curious to see if that camera is still live or if this is a sign that that camera has actually been destroyed out in Los Angeles. Actor James Woods went on Fox News last night to talk about the devastation. He was one of the first to start reporting on the Hollywood fires.
No water in the hydrants. 17.6 million cut from the fire department. Karen Bass, a recent headline, I think you might have tweeted that out from the New York Post.
Yeah, and our new fire chief, has, and by the way, LA Fire Department is fantastic. The people, it's like the people who work for the federal government, so many of us are good people, but the people in charge, she took over and she put on her bio that her priority, my highest priority is inclusion, diversity, and equity. That is my priority. And somebody forgot to fill all the reservoirs, I guess, with water, because when I was getting smoke alarms, there was a fire truck parked in front of my house, but they couldn't pump any water because there was none, because they didn't put them in the reservoirs. Okay? And they were busy cutting, look, it's the same we had with all the crime we have in our neighborhood, in Los Angeles. When we had that idiot Gascon, they just didn't care. Everybody was running loose. They were smashing places. You couldn't walk down the street.
A return to competent leadership. This may be a wake-up call. We're not trying to make this political.
Yes, you are trying to make it political, and it is political because the left has made it political. This is who Mayor Bass has put in charge of firefighting in Los Angeles.
I'm super inspired.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I said, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. She's quick to point out that doing so has a greater purpose, attracting the best and brightest for the job.
They feel included, they feel valued, and they feel part of a cohesive team.
The chief also checks another box when it comes to inclusivity and diversity at this department. She's a proud member of the LGBTQ community.
I'm always really thankful whenever somebody would save me from a fire. I always want to know, well, do you eat kitty cat? That's what I'm really concerned about. I'm really concerned that the people whose job it is to save my life, I like to know what's between their legs, what they do with it, and with who. Good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. They're not trying to make it political, but it's quite political. As a matter of fact, this is a video about the governor, showing the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, talking about how you had the largest dam removal in U.S. history because the native tribes said they needed to save a fish.
Largest dam removal project in U.S. history.
Oh, come on, internet.
One of the most significant, if not the most significant water restoration project, bringing back salmon and steelhead into this basin. This project could not have happened without partnerships with tribal nations and, of course, our partners in the North and Oregon. We just finished a celebration where the Secretary of the
Yes, it's about saving the fish. Now, need I remind you that Donald Trump went on Joe Rogan last year and actually mentioned this exact situation in discussing the possibility of wildfires. Hold on, I got the clip here somewhere. I've got a billion clips per usual. Here we are. This is Donald Trump on Joe Rogan last year before the election, talking about just this situation.
But let me give you one that you may not know.
Okay.
Which I think you know everything, actually, as a student of yours. but water, you know, in Los Angeles, you can't get proper amounts of water.
Right.
And it's unbelievably expensive. And you might have a house in Beverly Hills, and they're actually thinking about rationing water. Can you believe it?
I can believe it.
And I was in the farm court country with some of the congressmen. We're driving up a highway, and I say, how come all this land is so barren? It's farmland, and it looked terrible. It was just brown and bad. I said, but there's always that little corner that's so green and beautiful. They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why don't you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. You got to see this. We're driving up, and I had never seen it before. It's like Iowa. It's the most fertile land. Iowa's blessed with great land. Idaho for a potato, right?
Yeah.
But you know, some land is good for a potato, some land is good for corn. It's the craziest thing. I love the farmers. They're great. They're the greatest. And by the way, they're getting killed right now.
They are.
They're getting killed because of this stupid administration. But so I see this, and I said, you got to be kidding. I said, you mean you have water? And I looked at it. It's like a valve in your sink, except it's massive. The thing's 5 times taller than your ceiling.
Did you know the center of California was a giant lake?
They have so much water.
You ever see what it looks like before they rerouted
I never
it?
saw that.
The
no.
center of California, like, what is it, 200 years ago?
Yeah.
How long ago did they do that, Jamie? The center of California had a fucking enormous lake.
Sorry for the language.
They dumped it into the Pacific.
Who knows what they did? But whatever foolishness that they did led to the situation that they're in now.
Think of those.
Somebody says very quiet. You can hear Austin fine, but you can't hear the clips worth a damn. Sorry about that, guys. How about this?
Dry forests that burn down all over the world. You know, the head of Austria said,
Here it is, Tulare Lake or Tachi Lake. It's a freshwater lake in the southern San Joaquin Valley, United States. Historically, Tulare Lake was one of the largest freshwater lakes west of the Mississippi. Show a photo of what it looked like back then.
It's a great system.
So that's what it looked like. Look at that image. Now, go to the one on the third from the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an enormous lake in the middle of California. Imagine that.
That'd be much more valuable property.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
But how crazy is that's what it used to look like? And human beings screwed that up.
No, they let it go into the Pacific, and then they...
I don't know what they did. What did they do that...
Well, now people probably live there now.
How did it go missing?
They said they drained it in 83.
Yeah, they drained it.
1983. Oh, my God.
It went dry a handful of times.
Oh, it went dry a handful of times. Well, you know, lakes do go dry, but that's a big one.
But think of
it. It's a big one to go dry.
You could have all of the water you need. All of that land would have more water. The whole thing could be like that little patch.
Yeah.
Literally, I'd say I was with Devin Nunes, a congressman, and other congressmen. We were going up. I was visiting that because they asked me to go up and visit their territory, and I did. But I kept saying, look at this land. It's beautiful, but it's so dry. And I thought they were going through like a desert, like a drought. They said, no, we have water, but it gets... So I looked into it. I got it done. I got it done. I could have water for all of that land. water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You know, you could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, you know, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. When a tree falls down, after 18 months, it becomes very dry. It's like, you know, like real firewood. It's bad. You know, a tree that's up, these are all things I learned the hard way, the easy way. But when a tree is up, it sucks water. It's wet. I went to they had a couple of horrible forest fires in California, and I said, you know, you got a lot of trees standing. Yes, they were healthy trees, sir. I said, with this intense heat, that you could see they were charred a little bit on the bottom, but they were going to be all right because they're soaking wet because they suck up the water, right? But when they fall, they're like, you know, it's like lighting a match.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to clean. They call it maintain your forest. So I was with the head of.
Yeah, here in the Ozarks, for example, here in mid-Missouri, I was really shocked. I went to the there's a burned down castle, ironically, a burned down castle in Hahatonka State Park in the Ozarks. And near the Hahatonka State Park, there is a sign that talks about the Ozarks and fire spotting in the Ozarks. And before man settled the Ozarks and before humans created the modern fire watching techniques that we have right now using modern forestry, the Ozarks used to burn down. It's some ridiculous number. You know what? I'm going to just look it up real quick. How often did the Ozarks used to burn down before fire management techniques? Thank God for ChatGPT. It was I was shocked when I heard how often the Ozarks just would completely burn to the ground. The Ozarks experienced frequent natural fires, primarily during due to lightning strikes. Native Americans would light the fires on accident. But how often would it burn down, though? How often would it burn? Okay, so studies of fire scars on trees in the Ozarks suggest that many areas burned every 3 to 7 years on average, though some regions experienced fire intervals as short as 1 to 3 years. How often would the nearly the entire Ozarks burn? Let's see what it has to say. Pretty unrelenting hike to the castle. Yes, it is very unrelenting. It is. The entire Ozarks region rarely burned all at once. However, due to the region's fire-adapted ecosystems, significant portions of the Ozarks burn frequently on a rotational basis. Pre-management fire cycles, key takeaway, while the entire Ozarks burning in a single event was unlikely, most areas experienced fire frequently enough, large portions of the landscape would have been affected over time. How was that managed? Thank God for ChatGPT these days. But it looks as if my number here is 3 to 7 years on average, though some regions experienced fire intervals as short as 1 to 3 years. I think that's what I was reading at the Hahatonka State Park, which there's this beautiful location where someone tried to build a house in the early 1900s and it burned down because the fire intervals were, I believe, at Hahatonka 1 to 3 years. So like every year pretty much, or every 3 years, these massive regions of the Ozarks would burn out. And so we learned our lessons in mid-Missouri, you know, for being backwards idiot rednecks like they think, you know, the stereotype is of us on the coasts, in, you know, the Los Angeles people and the New York people, what they think of us here in the Midwest. We actually figured out how to ensure that these kinds of fires don't destroy everything that we love. There's pre-management fire. We use indigenous fire management. Native Americans like the Osage, Quapaw, and the others use fire as a tool to manage the environment. This is before modern fire techniques. Come on, ChatGPT. Where's my damn modern? Okay, how about modern techniques, you piece of shit? For the love of God. I'm sorry for the language, guys. Oops, sorry. Here we go. Yeah, controlled burns, obviously, right? Intentionally set, carefully managed fires to mimic natural fire cycles, reduce excess fuel like dead wood and leaf litter like Trump was talking about, prevent large-scale uncontrolled wildfires by lowering fuel loads, and it's conducted during favorable weather conditions, supervised by trained professionals with detailed burn plans. They also physically remove vegetation. So they can, like Trump was saying, you can't even go out there and just rake up the underbrush that would prevent this from happening. The Palisades fire now show 5 people dead, thousands of acres burn, and the blaze breaks out in the Hollywood Hills. Good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. We're glad and thankful to have you here. If you're just tuning into the show right now, please click like. And if today is the first time that you've ever joined the Wake Up America show, please do click the follow button as well. We'd be glad to have you become a regular guest of the show. Sign of Jonah says, in Ohio, we cut swaths through the forest. Power companies gladly maintain most of them. Sign of Jonah also continued and said that there is a certain pine cone in California that will only open and spread its seed when it's caught on fire. Fires would naturally occur due to lightning. Very true. They completely ignore the kindling available in winter. Cecilia H. says, isn't there an idea that this fire could have been caused by a resident of Tent City? Well, Cecilia, as usual, you guys are jumping all over my leads. Why do you guys watch the Wake Up America show when you guys already know all the news? I mean, come on. Allegedly. Remember, this is allegedly. Kyle Becker posted this video showing what he believes to be evidence of arsonists starting fires in Santa Monica. Take a look.
We're at 302 Pico, and people are lighting fires now. You can see they lit a fire. These guys, not all the people there, but some of those guys lit that fire, and they're actually, the trees caught fire, and then the palms are catching fire. So civilians are now lighting fires down in the so-called flats around Santa Monica, Venice. So be safe out there. Fire department's been dispatched. We don't have enough water to put this thing out, but we're supposedly on the way.
You can lay the blame for these fires directly at the feet of socialism. It's not climate change. It's socialism. It's about controlling the means of the production of water. California has centralized the control of the means of the production of water. And I see a lot of people out there like Rob Schneider on X and so many others are angry at State Farm, saying that they pulled all their insurance policies. And certainly, the insurance companies, are going to be in a bind when it comes to this situation. But let's be real here. It's another socialistic behavior to control the means of production of insurance that might have higher premiums, but they're not allowed to issue higher premiums in California because the laws of economics are suspended at the state line of California. Insurance industry officials this morning are warning about widespread economic damage on par with some of the biggest fire disasters in recent memory, potentially eclipsing the devastation of the 2023 Maui inferno. The destruction of high-value homes in the path of the rapidly burning Palisades fire, some of the most expensive homes in America, will likely result in one of the top 5 costliest wildfires in U.S. history, with a multi-billion-dollar loss for insurers. Now all we need is just for Oprah and for The Rock to come out and make a video begging you all for money to solve the problem. C.O. Day says that someone sent him a rando homeless person actively making fires. I believe it. People thrive on chaos, right? But when it comes to the question of the insurers, the politicians, I lay the blame directly at the feet of socialism. Because here's the thing: if you privatize water production, you'll get more of it. If you socialize it, you'll get less of it. People think that because if you make something a human right, if you just say, oh, well, water is a human right, well, then that will magically result in the creation or the production of that product that will then be guaranteed to everyone. But now we see that when something becomes a human right, when something is guaranteed, when something is socialized like water, this is this is what you get. Joe Biden was seen at a press conference yesterday making it all about him. Take a listen.
We got notification yesterday that their home was probably burned to the ground. Today, the parents are maybe still standing, I'm not sure. The good news is...
Hold on one second. I know you guys can't hear that. Apologize. Let me turn it up.
We got notification yesterday that their home was probably burned to the ground. Today, the parents are maybe still standing, I'm not sure. The good news is I'm a great-grandfather as of today. I have a granddaughter.
Okay, excuse me. So even though I turned it up, I know it's a little hard to understand it. There are subtitles. He's talking about how they got a notification that their home was probably burning down. The parents are maybe still might be still standing, but the good news is that I have a great granddaughter today. Excuse me. This is a photograph here of the Palisades in Los Angeles, almost completely gone. You can see here there's like 1 or 2 homes that are still standing here, but this here is the Pacific Palisades. I don't know if many of you traveled to it before, but here we have an aerial view. This comprises the Hollywood sign, major landmarks, some of the biggest celebrities in the world, their homes. Near total devastation here. There we are, right there. Unbelievable image. Here's Joe Biden in July 19th of 2024.
I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons. I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons that freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind and fire's going to start in the right place and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean. And there's not a fucking thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA, and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it. Because these fires are so big, dude. When they're talking about like thousands of acres that are burning simultaneously with like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And the wind's just blowing embers through the air, and those embers are landing on roofs, and those houses are going up, and they're landing on bushes, and those bushes are going up, and everything's dry. And once it happens in a way where it's so spread out that there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do.
You just have to evacuate, right?
Nothing they can do. I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons.
Absolutely crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I mean, Joe Rogan knows, right? Joe Rogan knows. California Governor Gavin Newsom says he's furious at Trump for blaming him for the California fires, that he won't even respond to him.
We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
It's one can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing.
James Woods needs to run for governor of California. Or I saw somebody talking about Nicole Shanahan. I would also support a Nicole Shanahan ticket. Here's the mayor of Los Angeles, who I believe was on a trip to Ghana initially.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together...
Excuse me? Excuse me? What did you say? All of this can be found at URL? URL?
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL.
All of this can be found at URL. That's the mayor of Los Angeles. That's her comment, that all of that can be found at URL. At least one little heartwarming video that did emerge from the fires in Los Angeles. This is a firefighter saving the American flag. Amazing. That's going to be somebody. If somebody took a picture of that, that is going to be a
Don't let it
award
touch
winner.
the ground. Roll it up in a ball.
Thank you, Mr. Flag Code. Very nice, very nice. Thank you very much for that, sir. Yes. Mayor Karen of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, cut $17.6 million in funding from the fire department. She was in Africa on a taxpayer-funded trip and has a DEI hire running the fire department. Meanwhile, her city is burning to the ground. There we have. Oh, come on, Austin, get out of there. There we go. Here she is in her first statement when she was approached in Ghana about the fire.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position?
Oh, good stuff.
Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens
I love Sky
today who are
News.
dealing with this disaster?
She's just staring at him.
No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
Ghana. The hell are you doing? What is the mayor of Los Angeles doing in Ghana? On a taxpayer-funded trip to Ghana? What is this shit? Looking for her next diversity hire? Thank you, Sky News, for that clip. Well done. This is Adam Carolla's rant from a hotel after being forced to evacuate from his home.
Who lost their $20 million homes on the ocean side of PCH will be knee-deep in the permit process. They will be trying to pull permits when the guys in the Winnebagos will have been back for months before those guys ever get a permit. As a matter of fact, good fucking luck, because here's the deal. Alan Hamill and Suzanne Summers moved because they could not get a permit to rebuild their home of 40 years on the ocean on PCH, right? So here's what's going to happen. Let me just give you guys a little primer of what's going to happen. You know how Bill Maher seems real conservative now when he's like arguing with Jane Fonda about regulations, too many regulations, like strangling everything? Because remember, when Bill Maher tried to put solar in his house in Beverly Hills, that's when he turned against the government, because he saw what the government and the overreach of government and overregulation does. He got strangled. It took him 3 years to build a solar shack. He had a whole countdown on his show, you know, day 1,000 since I've got my permit for my solar. He turned. Okay. The people who live in Malibu, who live in Santa Monica, who live in the Palisades, those are some of the most progressive blue voters in the world, or in the United States. They are a bastion of blue. So what those guys did is, all the people in the Palisades, I checked it out. It's about 80% blue, 80% progressive, 80% Democrat.
They voted for these policies. Now, I'm not saying they deserve this, right? I'm not being hateful at all, but they did vote for these policies, right? They do want the policies that created this, and it is illegal. And the left is going to blame the insurance companies. But here is the policy regulations in California. This is called Proposition 103. California's regulatory framework limits insurers' ability to adjust premiums based on wildfire risk. For example, Proposition 103 requires prior approval from the state before insurers can increase rates. And insurers have to base their rates on past losses, not future projections. Does that make any sense? It makes no sense whatsoever. So let me get this straight, right? So these are the richest, some of the richest people in the world, some of the biggest celebrities, richest people in the world. And not everybody that lives in Hollywood is wealthy. Not everybody who lives in Hollywood is famous. Right? There are people there, who don't live the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Although most people who live there, if you can live in that area, tend to be very well off. Right? And they should be able to afford the insurance premiums that you would have to pay at a market rate to live in an area that, it's just a compounding series of problems of socialism, right? They're not allowed to rake out the undergrowth. They're not allowed to do controlled burns. The insurers are not allowed to sell insurance based on reasonable market predictions. You have to, imagine being in an insurance business, running State Farm or Allstate, and saying that you have to go to the government to ask permission to increase rates, and then you have to say to the even though inflation is going to happen, even though the cost of the homes have increased, even based on future projections, right, which is what you would normally do. Like, what do you think the losses would be in the future based on like a certain set of quantitative analysis that you could make? No. You have to base it on a fire that happened in 1982. Right? You wouldn't be able to sell insurance. And you see this in places like Florida, for example, where insurers, they're just pulling out. They just won't offer insurance to coastal homes in Florida because they can't operate on a market rate. It just doesn't make sense. And it's illegal in Los Angeles, California, for insurance companies to sell insurance policies at what would be a reasonable market rate for what the government has done to impede the ability of the people to be able to have reasonable responses to this danger. Good morning, I'm Austin Peterson. There's your little freedom rant for the day. Socialism is the problem. Capitalism is the cure. We've got about 15 minutes until Camelia Peterson's joining us here live on the Wake Up America show. It's time for us to talk about something a little bit more fun, talk about something a little bit more lighthearted. Why not? Let's talk about AP's DC Liberty Tour. All right, wake up, you sexy bitch.
Wake up, you sexy bitch. It's time to sin.
You're the best around. AP's DC Liberty Tour has been announced May 1st through the 3rd, 2025. All right, I'm going to blow this up. I'm going to take this up full screen. Hold on just one second, guys. I'll make it as big as I can here. Hold on just one moment so that you guys can see all the options here. And I can explain this to you. I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit slower than I normally would. Here we go. So you guys can kind of see what we're working with here. Now, before we talk about all of the fun stuff that's going to happen May 1st through the 3rd, I have a funny story about this to tell you guys. So I got this idea because somebody said, a few months ago, somebody was like, we need to do another, AP, get together or whatever. And I was just kind of like, okay, great. That sounds like a fun time. I'll set that up. No problem. And I was like, okay, well, Stephanie and I were looking into some of these websites that are like these influencer websites where you can go and they'll give you travel options and they'll handle like hotel bookings and they'll do this kind of stuff. And we were just kind of like, okay, no, for our very first trip, let's just make it as easy as possible. We're not going to do anybody's hotels because some people want to stay at a really nice hotel. Some people want to stay at a cheaper hotel. Some people, can't afford to fly Delta and we would rather fly Frontier. So we wanted to give you guys the chance to just book all your own flights and hotels and transportation and everything like that. So you can do it according to your budget, use your points, what have you. And so we thought, okay, well then let's just do the basics. We'll charge a fee for us to coordinate everything for the actual tours, the places we're going to go and all the sites. And we'll talk about those packages here in just a moment. But we used ChatGPT to help us with research, and we looked at all these influencer websites, and they're all for most of them for yoga retreats to Indonesia, and it's take your influencer friends, your influencer go to Bali and Cambodia and Thailand and all this stuff, and we're kind of oh, so it's all pre-planned trips. You don't get to plan it yourself. We're oh, this doesn't work for us. We want to be able to we want to plan our own trip. We want to do a DC tour first, and then if the DC tour goes well, guys, then we're going to go to Argentina. Yo voy a votar por Javier Milei. So this is like our first test of our influence. If we can pull off a successful trip to Washington, D.C., then the next trip will be to Argentina, Buenos Aires, Mendoza. So we'll go say hello to Javier Milei at the presidential palace and pull some strings. Anyways, so we're looking up all these websites to try and find a website that we can use to plan our own trip and take you guys with us to Washington, D.C. And we found one. It was called wetravel.com. That's WE travel.com. And I think I'm going to pull up this email for you. Like, we got canceled so hard. Like, I've gotten canceled before online, but I've never been canceled this hard, this fast. So you have to go through an identification process where you prove that you're a legitimate business. You prove who you are and your identity. You have to like show them your social profiles, right? Because it is for like influencers to help book travel for their friends and their guests. So wetravel.com, they did like a 3-day verification process because I thought, oh, this is nice. This would be a beautiful way for us to coordinate with you guys. And so get this. This is the email I got. This is WeTravel's verification team. We appreciate you taking the time to enter WeTravel's verification process. After careful review of your account, the information that you provided, and publicly available information, we've determined you do not comply for approval to use WeTravel. Effective today, we have issued you denial of service. While we're unable to disclose our internal review criteria or discuss your account status further, if you have questions, please review our help pages. Upon issuance of denial of service, and it's denial of service is capital D, capital S, denial of proper nouns, denial of service, WeTravel has immediately removed your access to the platform. The subscription fee will be returned immediately. We're unable to reconsider this decision and can no longer respond to further messages about your account status. We wish you success in your future endeavors. For some reason, I don't think they actually wish me success in my future endeavors. So it's on forlibertyshop.com. Screw those guys. Screw all those influencers. Let me take you to Indonesia or Thailand or Bali. Hell no. We're going to Washington, D.C. together, baby. Heart of Liberty. A Liberty tour. I mean, yeah, I was canceled. I was canceled so fast. They shut me down so fast. They went to x.com/AP for Liberty and they were like, squeeze me? No. You know what it was, guys? They probably you know what it was? They probably went to my ex account, or they probably watched yesterday's Wake Up America show, and they heard they probably tuned in at exactly the point when I pushed this button.
I hate immigrants, gays, the crippled. God, I really hate the crippled. I can't stand unions, cops, old ladies.
Denial of service. Why can the left not take a joke? Yes, lost me as a customer. I know, exactly. I would have taken to D.C. I mean, come on. It's a Liberty tour to Washington, D.C. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? Torture these people? No, it's going to be a great time. And it's open for booking now. So let's kind of go through the options here so you guys can get an idea of how this is going to work, okay? So it's the Liberty tours May 1st through the 3rd, and we've got 4 different options here. 3 of these are optional. And 1 is the base package. So we're now booking for the Liberty tour. This is May 1st through the 3rd. If you want to go on the tour, it's 1 person, the base package. But here's the thing. If you have a group, or like if you're a couple, if like a husband and wife, and let's say you have kids, I'm not going to charge you the full $500 for 2 people and your kids. So if you've got like, 4 or 5 kids, even you've got like an army of children, kids under the age of 18 are going to be free. Okay. The idea here is not to bilk all of my followers out of every last penny that they have. But like, you know, I am going to be pulling a lot of resources for this trip and doing a lot of stomping around Washington, D.C. and coordinating all this stuff. So this was the fee that I thought was reasonable to make everything happen. But if you have like a group of people that you're going to bring, you know, I will offer group rates. And if you have kids, you know, under the age of 18, then they're going to be free. Okay. So if it's like 2 adults, then I'm not going to charge you the full $500 for both adults. But if it's just one person, then that's what the fee is going to be. So the Liberty Tour base package for one person is $500. There's me leading you through the Jefferson Memorial there. And these are the details of the tour. Kids under 18 are free. You can contact me for group pricing details at that email. So send me an email if you got more than one person that you want to book, and we'll work out a rate that is fair and reasonable. So here's the itinerary. It's tentative right now, but we are going to firm it up as we get closer on Thursday. And I've already spoken to newly minted freshman Congressman Bob Onder. Spoke to him yesterday. We're going to do a Capitol tour with Dr. Bob Onder. Yeah. Amy J.E. says they went to the shop and saw the gun shirts. Yeah, probably something like that for sure. They're like, no, thank you. This is that. This I can hear them. I can literally hear them looking at my website. That's a little Hazel there. And we're going to have a Capitol tour with Dr. Bob Onder. We're going to go Congress critter hunting. We'll go visit Thomas Massey's office to see if we can see him, see if he's there. And dinner that night, it will be at Super Pollo Peruvian Chicken, my favorite Peruvian chicken place in Ballston, VA, where I used to live. So Thursday will be fun. On Friday, we're going to go to the U.S. History Museum, and if we have time, then we'll hit up the Jefferson Memorial, and that will be the day that for the optional add-on upgrade where you can view a live recording of the Wake Up America show on Friday morning. And if you like, we have only one of these available, but for one of the nights that we're there, if you want to have a private dinner with me and Stephanie and Hazel, then we will take you to one of my favorite restaurants in Old Town Alexandria, right where I used to live. At my old haunt, Chadwick's English Pub, and you can see the menu right there. If you click on it, it's, oh God, it's so good. They have like crab cakes there that are just so phenomenal. And it's a beautiful place right there in Old Town, Virginia. It's right next, you can actually see right across the Potomac is the Capitol, and it's absolutely beautiful. And guys, what a treat. This is why I picked this weekend. It's Revolutionary War weekend in Mount Vernon, Virginia. So we're talking about reenactments. They're going to rebuild George Washington's war tent. So on Saturday, we'll go to Mount Vernon and we will see George Washington's home. And they're going to have Revolutionary War reenactors, which is rare. So it's Revolutionary War weekend at Mount Vernon in Virginia. All the description about the tour is here. You can read about the tour. And what we're going to be doing there, what we can see at the Museum of American History, Revolutionary Insights at Mount Vernon. It's Revolutionary War weekend, like I said, so there are going to be some like battle reenactments, I am told. And I'm going to show you guys some of my favorite food places, from Peruvian chicken to African peri-peri. Unbelievable, delicious foods. So you guys can read all this. Make sure that you read all of this, right? Because there are some terms on this one, and there is a cap. So there's a cap on the number of people who can go, and then there's also a minimum amount of people. So if we don't get 5 people signed up by March 15th, then the tour is going to be canceled and all payments will be refunded. So I think we can get at least 5 people who want to go to DC for the tour, right? So, right, the caveat is, guys, is that, like, it's you're purchasing the tour, so that doesn't include, like, your travel, your hotels, right, your transportation, right? That's all on you guys to get there, right? And, you know, every effort will be made to help you guys coordinate transportation, but, like, ultimately it's up to you guys to get there and to join us for the tour. The tour is only going to happen if we have at least 5 individuals purchase the tour, right? And then if we don't receive 5 confirmations by March 15th, then again, it's canceled and all the payments will be refunded. And the tour is going to be capped at 30 adults. and an unlimited number of children. So like that's kind of a small army. So if we get at least 30 people, if we get 30 people, I will actually be surprised. But no refunds will be issued after April 15th. And the reason why, because if we get a certain amount of people, then I'm going to book rooms for us to do the optional stuff on the tour, rather than do like I've got like a few different ways that I will coordinate it depending on how many people we have in order to accommodate the size of the groups. But I only have one of the exclusive private dinners. So once that's sold, that's it. So if you want to go and you want to get everything and part of the package, and you want to do dinner with me and Steffi, private dinner with me and Stephanie and Hazel, then buy it today, because that's it. There's literally only one night that we're going to be able to do a private dinner. So we'll have one night where everybody will go out, but if you want to have dinner with just me and Stephanie and Hazel and pick our brains and have fun at Chadwick's, my favorite place in Old Town, then buy it today, because there's only one on there and then it'll be gone. If you want to upgrade your tour package, we're going to do a Liberty Tour merch package, which I think you guys will love. This is an add-on to the base package. So you'll get a personalized gift box that I will give you upon arrival. It's a surprise selection of Liberty themed items from the shop. It's your choice of premium coffee or tea. So for $150 as an add-on, you guys can get a merch package. There you go, guys. Quest Fanning says, just don't leave with any lecterns. He got the joke. Good. There you go. So you've got a merch package, and if you want, another optional bonus that you can add on is to join a live recording of the show, the Wake Up America show. There we go. AP's Liberty Tour. So it's available for booking now. There are some deadlines, guys. So just so you know, so go ahead and visit it today. And here's the thing, go ahead and book it so that we can hit that threshold of 5. Because once we have 5 people signed up, like if, you may not know if you want to do like the private dinner or the merch package or the taping of the show. But if you know at least that you want to go, let's get 5 people signed up so that it's on. And we will do refunds all the way up to April 15th if you decide not to go. So you're safe on that one, okay? So go to forlibertyshop.com, because I'm canceled everywhere else, and reserve your Liberty Tour base package. If you have more than one person that is coming as a part of your group and you're traveling together, or if you're like a family, if it's a couple, essentially, if it's you and your wife or your husband and your husband, we're libertarians, then just contact me at austin@stonegatellc.com. You can find the email at the top of the tour package right there. Contact us for group pricing details, or just hit me up in a DM. But let's go ahead and start getting it booked, guys, because then we do this one, and then when that's successful, we're going to go to Argentina. Okay? Go see Javier Milei. All right, I'm already late. I got to go get Camellia, guys. It's time for me to rock and roll. We got to talk to CJ. I want to hear her take on the Los Angeles fires, and I want to ask her about the preemptive pardons for Liz Cheney and Anthony Fauci. Also, school is in session in Jefferson City. She's here, but she's not here. You'll see when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
the hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result.
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Click that like button if you haven't already. We'd love to have you be a regular guest to the Wake Up America show, and you could do so by clicking that like button and then clicking the follow button right after it. Come back and join us every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the show schedule, and I'm sticking to it. All right, well, we've talked about the Liberty Tour of D.C. Somebody was doing a Liberty Tour of Jefferson City. That's my home city, and she's right here, not in studio with us today. Camelia Peterson joining us live on the show today from her hotel nearby. Good morning, CJ. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Although, how does it go? Nobody's life and property or something is safe when the legislature is in session.
Yes.
I probably just butchered that, but
Exactly. Well, yesterday, all of the new freshmen elects were sworn in there in the Capitol. One of which was a good friend of ours who's been a big supporter of me and of the show. She won her race. Her name's Kathy Jo Loy. We're very excited about that. But it was kind of not a good day for her. you were saying, because I basically turned her libertarian, right? So she's one of the good guys. She's going in there. She's like, she asked me if I had any tips or advice when she got here. It was like a few weeks ago, and I was just like, yes, keep your mouth shut. Just listen. Just be a good listener and learn as much as possible. Like, don't make enemies right away. Go in there. I'm gonna change everything and light everybody's hair on fire until you know what the hell you're doing. Which is really good advice that I guess not many people followed yesterday. What was the hubbub, the commotion?
Right. So, I mean, and it was a nice day. I've got a few people that I think are going into the legislature that it's a really good thing and it's good for Missouri and good for freedom. But yeah, no, there's kind of been drama in Missouri the last, couple of months because there was our Speaker of the House has really already been elected like last year. And there's a guy that decided at the last minute that he would challenge that. And rather than go to the people who can actually vote for him to be speaker, he went out in the grassroots, so to speak. It was like the Central Committee members and got everybody stirred up and had them, calling their legislators or emailing them or whatever, and it's a really hateful group of people, and so it was kind of so that
wait a minute. Yeah. This sounds like just like the same thing that we had in Washington D.C., where Thomas Massey was kind of like the guy who was fighting against the establishment, and all the grassroots were supporting Massey, and they wanted to go stand up against the establishment guy, Speaker Johnson. You're sounding kind of establishment-y here, Camelia.
I know, right? Such an establishment hack anymore. Yeah, no, and trust me, the guy that was running really tried to use that analogy.
Oh.
And so, but, I think when you
do.
distill it down, right, sure, right, 100%. So I think on the state level, the dynamics are a little bit different, circumstances are different. And so it's, I think the context is different, but all that said, it was, it was eventful in that, to their credit, a lot of these people did take time out of their lives to come and rally and line the hallways with signs, as the newly minted legislators went in to be sworn in. And so it was, the problem is that it comes down to when you make a choice like that, you probably totally understand this. You cannot control who supports you and who goes out there and what they say to support you. And you get some crazy unhinged people out there. You have no control over what they do, right? And they're repping you and representing you, even though it's not official or whatever.
Yeah,
so
people think that just because they're grassroots, that means that they're the good guys or that they have good ideas that should be in government, right? It's kind of like this idea that it's the new populism, right? It's like that the people are all that the people are always right and that we're the good guys and all that. And it's but now that I've been in politics for 20 years, I've kind of seen how things really go, and I'm reminded of this quote from our good friend H.L. Mencken. He wrote this, and he said, he said, "Off goes the head of the king, and tyranny gives way to freedom. The change seems abysmal. Then, bit by bit, the face of freedom hardens, and by, it is the old face of tyranny. Then another cycle and another. But under the play of all of these opposites, there is something fundamental and permanent: the basic delusion that men may be governed and yet be free." Yes, that was H.L. Mencken's quote. Yeah. Because it seems so often that all they really are is the grassroots just wants to replace one form of tyranny with another. Instead of they don't want nice, coiffed, handsome suit-wearing men giving us tyranny. They want wild-eyed radicals pulling their hair out and screaming fire and damnation in that form of tyranny, right? So, if you're
for sure. And the thing is so our friend Tony Lavasco, who is not coming back this year, he posted his farewell speech from this last year, and that is because you're right. Like H.L. Mencken was so prescient in so many ways. Like he just had his finger on the pulse of human nature. And so he's right. Like it is like the new freedom because the new authoritarianism. It's just somebody wanting their different brand of freedom and they want to force that on everybody else. And Tony was talking about like his whole speech was like, what if? And he was like, what if we had these people who said like, what if, we just came in here to leave people alone and, let people run their lives. And it's this whole thing. And I'm like, I'm crying because like, I'm sad that we don't have more of those kind of people like Tony in the legislature.
No, but it was the wild-eyed, crazy populists who kicked out one of the only liberty-leaning legislators. I mean, this is a perfect example of what we're talking about here.
100%. And, like, don't get me wrong, like, there are a lot of very good people who are involved in things like this who are sincere and they think they're doing the right thing. And I think that is most of the people. I do think that we have, like, there are people who lead them who are bad actors and who do this for their own personal, they get something out of that, right? That fills that need in them because their life personally isn't exciting enough and they don't have enough control over things. So they want to control somebody else.
Yeah.
And this is the way to do it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's sad. I've got that speech here with Tony Lavasco pulled up. Let me just play a real quick clip of it here. Hold on one second here.
This could well be the last speech that I give on the floor of the House. And several people have asked me if I was going to take a moment to say goodbye, because that seems to be the tradition. And I don't like saying goodbyes. It seems perfunctory.
Perfunctory.
I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to try to leave you with a little bit of the flavor that I have hoped to bring to this body over the last 6 years. And ask some questions. Ask my colleagues to think about what a future may look like in this state, in this country, and ask them what if. What if the government wasn't so big? What if we valued free speech even if we disagreed with what we were hearing? What if we didn't put people in cages for victimless crimes? What if we allowed people to own property and do with it what they pleased? What if we left people alone? What if we remember that every law we pass, every regulation we put forth, every tax we levy is enforced at the barrel of a gun? And sooner or later, something will happen to someone negative that we didn't intend. And when will we think that this power we have been entrusted with needs to be used sparingly?
Never. Never gonna happen. Poor Tony.
What's so funny?
Nenards.
Oh God! Like he will stay involved in some way, and there are so many people looking to make sure that he does stay involved because we need people like him. But the irony in this is that a lot of the folks who are kind of always mad and outraged about something, like they would totally 100% agree with everything that he just said. And it really does come down to a difference in strategy and tactics so much of the time. But, at the same time, like they want those things, but they also want to force their way of getting there on other people. So, you've got to build bridges. Like there's a time to burn everything down, but it's hard to get things done if you can't build the bridges too.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of my biggest...
Tony was very good at building bridges.
He was, but unfortunately not enough with the people in his district. I mean, what did they want? Like, who did they elect over Tony? Who was better than Tony in the eyes of the voters?
Well, ironically, Tony was considered his opponent called him a rhino.
Yeah, that's what they called.
So funny,
that's what they called Thomas Massey too, right?
Right. I mean, so like we're all grassroots and we're all liberty lovers until we're not. And so,
well, it's funny because you kind of are rhinos in the sense that like most Republicans are kind of retarded and evil and terrible, and like that is the typical Republican, and it's like so if that's the case, then yeah, I guess we are kind of rhinos in the sense that like we're not big government Republicans. We're not insufferable, burn it all down, instill my own brand of tyranny populists. We're principled liberty Republicans. True. Mm. That's what I'd say. No, it's true. You think these people are on your side. You think you got the people behind you, but then it's like, for whatever reason, like, you didn't do what Donald Trump told you to do, so now you're my enemy. It's kind of like, they're elected by the people to represent their constituents, but I mean, I don't know. I guess it's always that constant tension between what the people want versus what the people need, because usually what the people need is not what the people want, because who really wants to like cut spending and cut budgets and cut welfare and cut taxes, cut all this stuff, right? Everybody wants more government spending but lower taxes without necessarily realizing that, like, you can't have both of those things. I mean, at least kick the can down the road. I'm speaking to Camellia Peterson, the lovely Camellia. We're in the same city, but we're not in the same room. CJ is the best. We appreciate that she is joining us live from her hotel room, and we're glad that she's here with us every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Time. Click the like button if you haven't already, and please do join us every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That way you'll always see her. Somebody said no sound, but I mean, maybe it's because I had the clip of Tony that was muted. Okay, hold on one second. Camellia, talk to us a little bit about the Anthony Fauci. This is back to the national level. Anthony Fauci, Liz Cheney might get a pardon before they committed a crime. I mean, like, is this kind of like an admission, or is it just like they're just trying to watch out for, like, protect them from Donald Trump? Your thoughts on this?
I didn't even know this was a thing. Until this came up this time, I didn't know that you could do a preemptive pardon. So I learned something new in the last 24 hours. So I was curious because I think it's only been done just a very few times before. So I went to Grok and it was like, when has this happened and who did it? And so this, from what I can tell, this has only occurred 3 times. And the first time was when George Washington, he issued the first one in 1795 to participants of the Whiskey Rebellion, and they were accused of treason but not yet convicted, so he issued a preemptive pardon in that case. The next time was when Gerald Ford, and I guess I should have known this, like, he issued a preemptive pardon to Richard Nixon for any, anything offenses he might have committed or done during, particularly related to Watergate. So, and then the last one, most recent one, was when Jimmy Carter issued a preemptive pardon for the Vietnam War draft dodgers. And so that, I didn't know that you could do that. I would think that like Anthony Fauci and Liz Cheney, that doesn't seem like a good enough reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're looking at all the scenarios in which it's been done before, like, I don't know, man. No,
for sure. I mean, it's like, but I think that Anthony Fauci committed crimes I think that it would be likely if he doesn't issue a pardon. I think Donald Trump should go after him. But the Liz Cheney thing, that's really sus. I mean, I guess it's because due to her behavior on the January 6th committee.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can figure out. And like, why? So if that's the case, like if there were issues, legal issues with how things were conducted with the January 6th committee, why just her? Like, why would that not come back on anybody else? So yeah, that's really interesting. Now my understanding is he has not done this yet, right? He's just talked about it.
Yeah, he's just talked about it. It hasn't been done. And I saw Quest Fanning over in the chat says that Biden should have to specify what is the crime. I totally agree with that.
Oh, sure. I mean, like, how do you justify it? You've got to give some reason. I would assume, my assumption is you've got to give some reason for doing it at the time. So it is an admission of guilt. Just in the fact that you're doing it.
Yeah.
I think that in other circumstances, you can make the argument that you're like maybe there were unjust laws, or maybe things were, maybe there's some good rationale for why you would not prosecute something, or if it's politically motivated. I suppose in this case, he could say, okay, well, it's lawfare, it's politically motivated, but it should be pretty black and white that if they lied to the American people, that should be easily provable, and able to be demonstrated in terms of any legal reasons.
Completely agree.
But what do I know? I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer either. All right, Camelia, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience members before we let you go today?
No, stay safe. We've got more snow coming in Missouri, so I hate winter, and I will try not to gripe about it like the rest of the time.
All right.
But I don't know. For a lot of states, your state legislature is back in session, and I would say, my word of advice as an establishment hack is to get to know your represented officials and listen to their reasons before you go like hammering them over the head all over the place.
There we go. That's Camelia Peterson. She's lovely. We'll see you next Tuesday, Camelia. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Live their lives. Would that really be so bad? That's the message I have tried to convey over my time in office, and I've had days that I've been successful at that and a lot more that I haven't. And when people ask me what it's like to serve in the House of Representatives, I will tell them, everything we do is important, but nothing we do matters. Every single thing we do affects so many people, or maybe just a couple people. But we have so little influence over any one of those issues that it feels just overwhelming, like you're just kind of treading water. But you show up and you do it anyway, because someone has to. And on a good day, you're a cog in the machine, and on a bad day, you're spare parts on the shelf. But it's important that we continue fighting that fight to move us towards that world. I won't be here for that, at least not for a bit. But I hope that this body will remember those values when I'm gone. And I can assure you I'll be tapping you on the shoulder every now and again to point it out. But at the end of the day, of my time in the House, I can only say this. It was fun. Oh my.
Thank you, gentlemen.
State Representative Tony Lavasco for his final speech on the House floor. When we get back, Daniela Pence-Sack joining us to talk about processed foods. Are they healthy? Are they unhealthy? We'll get her take on that and more. Don't forget, today, AP's DC Liberty Tour. You got to sign up. Let me know. Are you going to go? We need at least 5 people to join us in Washington, D.C., May 1st through 3rd. We'll talk about it more after Daniela Pence-Sack on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
The hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result.
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Click that like button if you haven't already. Come back and join us every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the Wake Up America show schedule. I see you guys are all excited about the Liberty Tour. Yes. AP's DC Liberty Tour happening May 1st through the 3rd. And if you missed it earlier, I told a story. I've been canceled from like social platforms before, and usually they just kind of like, they don't tell you, they just like suppress you, or they'll just be like, oh, you're suppressed for 30 days. But I got canceled so hard from these influencer platforms that like you use to plan trips, that it's like, not only did they like not let me use their service to book the tour, but they sent me this email that's just like, you are canceled. You are never coming back. We've closed your account. You can no longer log in. If you respond to this email, it will not be responded to. We will never do business with you. Boo! I guess they probably saw my show. They might have tuned into the Wake Up America show. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they heard me push a button, and maybe they heard something like this. I don't.
I hate immigrants, gays, the crippled. God, I really hate the crippled. I can't stand unions, cops, old ladies.
Hey, what about those old ladies? All right, joining us now, not an old lady. She's the lovely young Daniela Pensac on the Wake Up America show. Hey, could you hear that, Daniela?
I did. I did
Okay.
hear it when I was listening to the stream ahead of time, and it's hilarious. Yeah.
I hate cripples, immigrants, gays, old ladies, cops. That should offend everybody, but we're glad you're here, Daniela, the host of Culturama. Great show, by the way. Tuesday night. Last night was Wednesday. Yes. Tuesday night, great show. We're very glad that you're doing so well over there in Culturama, and I hope people will continue to watch your show Tuesdays and Thursday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. But I brought you on here today, Daniela, to talk to you a little bit about health. I mean, you have a nice complexion. Obviously, you're young, right? Like, do you have like a diet or a regimen, or do you just eat anything at this age?
You know, Austin, all it takes, honestly, is just like moderate amount of exercise, decent genetics, because you can't deny the genetics, and just like, yeah, trying to eat moderately healthy. I mean, I try to stay away from certain foods, but for the most part, I just eat like just a good amount of protein and vegetables, and I have collagen in my coffee every day. That's pretty much all I do. Yeah, it's not really that complicated.
It's not going to be like that forever, Daniela. It's not going to be like that forever. I used to be able to eat whatever I wanted. I lived in New York City. I eat whatever I wanted and just like work out 3 times a week, and then that was it. But then things got a little complicated in my 40s. But
well, there is beauty to aging gracefully, of course. You know, not everything's going to be sustained, but yeah, I feel like people, especially in the health community, they overcomplicate things often. And you see this a lot with right-wing circles too. I don't know if you know like about the Ray Peat diet that's been like floating around on Twitter. And
what is that?
Exorbitant amounts of sugar.
What is
this? Oh my
this?
gosh, that's like a whole nother. There's a man named Ray Peat who created this diet, and you're supposed to eat like an exorbitant amount of sugar, basically from sugar-dense food. And it's been like making the rounds on right-wing Twitter, and there's like I mean, I'm in those circles, so I like see that a lot, and I try to take like good advice from health accounts, but it gets very complicated. And honestly, what I found is like, as long as you just eat like clean sources of food, and take care of yourself, and drink a lot of water, like I don't think it should be that complicated. But I feel like people do overcomplicate health. And there's this study that you sent me, actually, that you want me to discuss, where the NIH, the National Institute of Health, did this study, which I think was a little bit of a waste of money, but they basically made a study seeing how unhealthy processed food was. And basically, without going over the details of the study, they essentially found that actually processed food isn't that unhealthy for you, as long as you, believe it or not, keep track of your calories and you try to avoid foods that have an exorbitant amount of preservatives. Like
that is not what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would have us believe.
Right, exactly. And that's the problem. And that's the problem. And that's why the study was, well, that's not the only reason why the study was conducted, but that's partly why, because you have people like RFK, and like I like RFK, I understand the mission, right? But he is promoting this viewpoint that states that basically all processed food is bad for you, and that's not necessarily the case. There's obviously differences between certain, processed foods. And I'm not under of the understanding that he wants to ban all processed food. I don't really follow everything he states, but he does make these generalized blanket statements that I think especially right wingers and conservatives kind of take it to the the ninth degree. And
Right.
that can't be
Well, it's like, oh, it's processed. It's processed. Oh, it's bad because
Right.
it's processed. Now, the thing about the processed foods, like, frozen pizzas or cereal or chips, is that they typically pack more calories into them than regular foods do, or like especially salt. Salt is kind of like one of the culprits, like that people struggle with their health, is that they're eating these foods that are super healthy. But then the study looked at packaged foods that were ultra processed, like canned peaches or refried beans, and those don't lead to people to overeat or gain weight. So it everything really comes down to, it's like when you say people want to overcomplicate things, I think you probably really just nailed it right there. Is that people want to feel as if like they've discovered some secret hack to weight gain. And it's kind of like, people got really pissed off the other day when I was like, like Coca-Cola, if like there, because what the story was that RFK Jr. wants to ban high fructose corn syrup, which is kind of, but what's the absurdity there, of course, is that they don't want to ban the subsidies that result in high fructose corn syrup being so cheap. So like they literally want to subsidize a product that they also want to ban, which is, it's that Thomas Massey word that we just came up with, nenarded, right? Nenard. But it's like, when they talk about sugar, it's like, oh, well, we want to ban high fructose corn syrup, and then we want to force Coca-Cola to replace it with sugar. I'm going to use a bad word here, and if you've got kids listening, turn down the volume. It's my show. I could say what I like, though, but I try to keep it PG-13. But I'm sorry, but that's fucking stupid. Like, it's replacing sugar with sugar. Don't drink the Coca-Cola. If you care about people's health, don't drink the sugar, right? Don't drink your calories. Drink water, right? But they want to feel like, oh, it's this hack. It's the type of sugar that's bad and not sugar overall. No, sugar is sugar. Sucrose is sucrose, right? It's about calories, right?
Yeah, it most definitely is about just calories. I don't know if you remember this or people remember this. There was that documentary, that McDonald's documentary that went viral back in the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah, it was Super Size Me.
Super Size Me, right?
Yes.
And I remember that was like really popular. And then I don't know if people know about this, but there was a response, like there was a documentary in response to that made by a man. It's I forgot what it's called. I should have looked it up before this. But in that response documentary, a man, I don't know his name, I forgot his name, but he basically did the same. He ate only McDonald's for a duration of time, and he actually lost weight. And he made this documentary to prove that actually it's not about. Because Spurlock made like this whole big deal about McDonald's. And so this response documentary was like, he lost weight on a McDonald's diet. I should probably look up. I forgot the name. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know. It was like a high school teacher who was like, okay, I'm gonna disprove it. I'm gonna eat McDonald's for 30 days and lose weight. And he did. He just instead of eating a double quarter pounder with cheese, a large fries, and a large Coke, he just ate like a cheeseburger, a small fry, and drank water or something.
Yeah, exactly. And they may not be the healthiest sources of nutrients, obviously. I mean, you're still going to feel bad probably eating it, but he proved that you can still lose weight. And so really when it comes down to it with any diet, it's just about like how much energy you take in, right? It's just calories. And obviously there's, if you want to be healthy and like, especially if you want to like bodybuild or exercise and like modify your body, I think then it matters like what sources of food you eat. But for the most part, if you want to maintain weight, it really doesn't matter what you eat at the end of the day. I know that's like an unfortunate. A lot of dietitians who try to make these fad diets don't like that because they're trying to find these super hacks, like you say. But it comes down to calories.
It's a grift,
exactly,
right? Yeah. And like people, especially on the right these days, they're so like food and they're so health obsessed, right? It's kind of like it's become sort of like a countercultural thing to sort of like signal that you're right wing by like working out and getting huge. But it's like there's some irony in the fact that like you've got RFK Jr. coming out talking about how evil pharmaceuticals are getting pumped into our foods and our diets and our kids and stuff. And yet there's there's no way that RFK Jr. is like 69 years old and ripped as hell, and that's totally natty. So it's like, my human growth hormones or testosterone replacement therapy is totally natural, right? My pharmaceuticals are fine. But it's kind of like the reason why we bring this up is not to just like make fun of people who are being nenarded. It's because like you're not helping people actually get healthy by replacing high fructose corn syrup with natural sugar. Like you have to be, and here's the thing, like Coca-Cola and all of the major like companies and like the farmers and things like that, like they're used by politicians as props to continue to advocate for subsidy for these products. But I mean, if you reduce the subsidies on high fructose corn syrup and you replace it with sugar, Coca-Colas are still going to sell and people are still going to get fat because they're still drinking too much Coca-Cola.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I think that although the message, I suppose, is positive to say that we should try to make America healthy again, or whatever the phrase is, but it should still be a choice at the end of the day. Like, I'm a big believer in letting people choose their own destiny. And if they want to be unhealthy, that should be accessible, at least, they should be able to buy it. Maybe you can make a tax on it, what is it called? The hedonist tax? I forgot what it's called, but
it's just a vice tax.
A vice tax, thank you. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to that necessarily, but if we really want to try to make America healthy, but we shouldn't ban items. I really don't think that's the case. At least that's my perspective. Also, when it comes to stuff like cigarettes as well, I think people should be able to have that choice. And
people are choosing not to. People are choosing not to do it. Like now that people know that tobacco gives you cancer, I think people are deciding not to use it, and I think that's good, and that's good for our culture. But what's not good is to kind of have like this conspiracy theory socialism, is what I call it, right? This idea that you can have that you can centrally plan people's health through the government, and not recognize that the government is ideologically captured by the lobbyists and by these big corporations. Any law that is written in order to try and make people healthy is going to go the way of the food pyramid. It's going to be written by the lobbyists. It's going to be written by the big giant factory farms, and the politicians are going to say, oh, well, we're just trying to help the small family farm and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, all it's going to do is transfer wealth, like most taxes do, transfer wealth from the poor and the middle class to the wealthy in the form of subsidy. It's just people don't understand this, or they're willfully misunderstanding the things that it comes to health, and it's because like there's just a lot of voodoo when it comes to people. People are like, oh, this is voodoo, right? Because they'll look at like the labels for these foods, Daniela, and it'll say morphalize, and they're like, oh my god, it's juju, it's bad juju, right? But it's like it's just a scientific term for like dihydrogen monoxide means water, right? So I mean, there's a lot of conspiracy theory, and there's a lot of like voodoo thinking on the right these days. Am I wrong or am I right?
You are completely right. Obviously, there's this level of ignorance that people have, especially in the right wing. You're absolutely right. If they see a big word, they don't know what it means. I think that obviously nutritional literacy is very important. And when I went to school, even in elementary school here in the Pacific very liberal Pacific Northwest, I mean, say what you want, but they not raised us. The school educated kids on like nutritional literacy. So I was very literate, but that's not what you see everywhere else in the United States. And so you see this also within the right wing, especially, where they don't really understand it. And what's also very pernicious and dangerous about this is that also what we've talked about earlier, you have all these fad diets coming out, particularly in the right wing and the counterculture movement, where I think the intention is right in trying to make people healthier, but oftentimes you just fall down these pathways that it's not completely accurate, right? Where you have to eat like the Ray Pete situation. I mean, I'm afraid if there's any Ray Peters out here that will go after me, but I really don't think it's the healthiest diet, because he literally tells people to eat like a lot of sugar, and maybe it works for a short period of time. I don't know. I'm not going to try it out, but nutritional literacy is important, and a part of that is understanding that, especially with the nutritional label, you're going to read these ingredients, and just because you don't know something on the nutritional label doesn't necessarily mean it's unhealthy.
Right.
And what the study indicated is that you just have to be aware of two things: energy dense foods, like if it has a high calorie content, not the best for you, because you're taking in more energy in your body. And number two, it's hyperpalatability, which means that there's processed foods out there that are designed to be very palatable. That means foods with a lot of sodium and salt in it, right? Like chips, for instance. So obviously a bag of Doritos should come to mind. It's not the healthiest. It's made to be very salty and tasty. Same with fast food. And that other natural sources don't have that amount of hyperpalatability. So if you have a processed food that's very hyperpalatable, it's probably not the best for you.
Yeah.
But like the study indicated, beans, canned fruit, obviously those
are good foods,
natural sources, and
right.
that's better for you.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, you can eat ultra processed foods like canned peaches, jarred salsa, low sodium soups, low fat flavored yogurt. Tabasco sauce is 0 calories, right? So are most like peppers and jalapenos and things like that, right? But like, to me, like sugar,
drink that for a meal, yeah.
But sugar, it's so addictive. Sugar, it's like cocaine, and it should be used like cocaine sparingly, just every once in a while. Just kidding. So they call it booger sugar. Booger sugar. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, guys. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to Daniela Pensack, as she is lovingly being referred to in the chat, Paniela Dentsack. She's the host of Culturama on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so you can see her tonight. If you don't get enough Daniela, you can get 2 full hours of Daniela's show, Culturama, from 7 to 9 p.m. Central tonight. Daniela, is there anything, what are you talking about on your show tonight, by the way? Have you got an idea? Or are you going to be tracking the wildfire in California?
It's very difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult to have a show today without referring to the wildfires that are happening in LA and in Southern California, or SoCal as they call it. So obviously I'll be touching on that. I'll be touching on Trump's admonishment of Newsom and his governance over California, the mayor of LA, where this is happening. I'm going to be talking about the failures of the Californian state government. I will be having on a guest today as well, named Dr. Joseph Cotto. He's going to be speaking about that as well. It's going to be very interesting and exciting. So it will be primarily about the wildfires, but there's a lot of other news that I'll be covering as well. I don't want to give too much away, but like the president of Mexico trying to get back at Trump for him wanting to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. There's some like internal struggles going on there. So it's going to be very interesting.
Good. I'm very excited about that. Daniela, now I am very excited also about a new product available in the For Liberty shop, specifically in the Culturama collection. And I'm a big coffee drinker. One of my favorite types of coffees is like a very sweet blend of coffee that's called a blonde coffee. And how much more perfect could it get for us than to see it, and for you to have your own coffee, Atomic Blonde, now available.
And I have it. I always have it in my cup, the Culturama cup.
Yes.
So if someone's buying the coffee, also consider getting the cup with the radioactive zombies on there.
Yes.
And of course, me with the ray gun. Austin, a lot of people at the show are clamoring for Leo merch.
Leo merch.
So I'm thinking, I don't know if you watch this like the stream live, but people are like begging for Leo merch. So I have to look into that and think about. Yeah, like we have a whole new segment called Unleash the Beast, where I have this dysgenic dog, for those that don't know, and like I'll sometimes bring him on, and it's kind of like a freak show on the show on the stream, and people like literally my viewership spikes when I bring the dog on. I don't know what's going on there, but they're begging for Leo merch, so I might have to look into that as well. But yes, get the coffee. It's going to be great. It just came out, and it can be found on the Culturama collection on the For Liberty shop.
There you go, guys. And everybody was claiming, we've been making phone calls to our supporters, trying to help grow the Liberty Network. I got to give it up to Steffi, because she like gets on the phones and tells people, hey, how do you like the show? What can we do to improve our offerings? And one of the things that people said was like, can we get coffee at a cheaper price? And so I went out there and I found us a new supplier. So it is a little bit cheaper for the new styles of coffee, but it's still delicious coffee. Culturama's Atomic Blonde, now available at forlibertyshop.com. Daniela, anything else that you want to share with our audience or plug before we let you go?
I just want to see everyone that's watching the stream tonight at 7 to 9 Central to watch Culturama. It streams on Rumble, on X, on Twitch and YouTube as well. But please come in and watch it. It's going to be really fun, and I think you guys will enjoy it.
There we go. Daniela, hey, thanks so much for kicking so much ass. I'm loving this show, Culturama. You're doing a great job. Everybody's really proud of you, and looks like the chat over there are big fans of you as well. So I expect to see everybody, all 181 Rumblers in there tonight at 7 p.m., rumble.com/Culturama. If you don't, I'll be very mad at you, pineapples, okay? Have a good one, Daniela.
Yeah, thank you, Austin.
Thank you. Bye-bye. There she is. That's Daniela Pensack, the Atomic Blonde.
Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good
morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Get your Atomic Blonde coffee at forlibertyshop.com. The proceeds of those go to help support the shows. Daniela and I, we split the profits from that. So get yourself a delicious bag of Atomic Blonde roast coffee. You can get it in whole bean. You can also get it in grounds. So check it out. You can select there, see whole bean or standard grounds. There you go. Good morning, pineapples. Looking very good to very nice. We've only got a few more minutes left. I just want to remind you guys that the APDC Liberty Tour has been announced. Yes. There you go. May 1st through the 3rd. So set your calendars, guys, and buy your tickets today. We will have a limited number of tickets that will be allowed. We will only be able to have 30 individual adults who will go, and then once those are out, they're gone. And we also have a minimum of 5. So there's an incentive to go ahead and book as soon as you can, guys, because if we don't get at least 5 people booked, then the cutoff is March 15th. So if we don't have 5 people who have confirmed their tickets by March 15th, then the trip gets canceled and we don't go. And then the next trip won't happen, which is we're planning another trip to go to Argentina. Don't you guys want to do like a Liberty tour with me and Stephanie and Hazel? So head to forlibertyshop.com because I've been deplatformed from all of the other influencer booking sites. Deplatformed. Go to forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. It is the base package right there is $500 per person. But if you're a couple, then I will give couples discounts. So Quest, for example, I know that you're going to have 2 adults at least. Your kids are free, but I will give you a reduced price on a second ticket. So just reach out to me, Quest, and I will set that up. I'll try and set that up on the website soon so that you can just do like the buy one, get one discount. But that's going to come later today. So if you're interested in bringing a group, then the more adults that you have, the more I will tack on the savings for you guys so that you can get everybody there, because I realize that we're still under Bidenomics, but you can get a base Liberty Tour package for one person. Please read all of the details in there, guys. It's so important because there's some important caveats in there in how this trip is managed. Like obviously, like the most important thing is that you're responsible for your hotel, your travel, and transportation, guys. So read all the fine print. And if you have questions, reach out to me or Steffi because it's easy to do so. Only one ticket will be sold for the exclusive private dinner with me and with Stephanie and with Hazel. So if you guys are interested in something like that, there will be only one. And when it is sold, it is gone. And that is the only thing, because we only have one night that we can do it. And we will be going to my favorite restaurant in Old Town Alexandria, where I used to live, right next to the Potomac River. You can see the Capitol right across the river. It's absolutely beautiful. We will go to Chadwick's English pub. Absolutely beautiful. But again, the spots are limited. We also will have an exclusive Liberty Tour merch package, which I know you guys will love. Liberty Tour merch package, a gift from me. That's an optional upgrade if you would like. Then when you arrive, you can choose from coffee or tea, and you got to let me know. You can add on a Liberty merch package for the tour just to make it a little bit more fun. And also another optional upgrade is that we'll do a live recording of the Wake Up America show on that Friday morning. So you guys want to come join me for a live recording of the Wake Up America show. That's an optional upgrade package, and you just have to go in there and buy it, and then you can bring your group. Okay, there we go. So there we go. You guys, was it a good show? I think so. Thanks for all you do, guys, for supporting the Wake Up America show. There was no bonus content today, so just go ahead and support the show by booking your trip today for the APDC Liberty Tour. We got to remember, at least 5 people got to sign up in order for the trip to happen. Once it does, then it's all confirmed, and I will let you guys know by mail, email, once everything has been confirmed. But there are important deadlines, so please go in, read all the information about the tour. If you have questions, of course, just let us know. And if you have more than one person that you want to bring, kids are free. Adults, the more you bring, the more discount I will offer, okay? So I guess I'll see you guys right back here tomorrow for Freedom Family Friday. Will we be here or will we be in studio? You'll have to come back tomorrow to find out on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Bye, guys.
Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
Hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or...
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love.